Welcome back to Abe's Exoddus. We have escaped the Necrom mines, and now we are in Necrom proper, this arid jungle. But before we really sink our teeth deep into it, let's take care of this first secret area. The era of easy secret areas are over, as indicated by me quick saving. This is probably one of the harder ones in the game. You gotta hide between these pillars, and every time, if you make any sort of screw up, you're probably going to get shot. I'm not a big fan of this secret, mainly because I don't really understand how sligs shooting in the background work when you're not possessing them. I don't know if the position they're in the background determines how they shoot in the foreground. And I got this in the first shot. Like, I didn't edit this to make it look like I got it in the first shot, which is pretty incredible for me. It usually takes me a couple of times to do this, so I kind of wish I didn't quick save at all. I should have had more trust in myself. And I think this secret area, you're supposed to, like, take care of the UXBs before talking to the Mudokons, because as you can see, initially they're below the grinder there, but I just talk to them right away and get them to move, because I don't trust myself in getting rid of the UXBs in time. And I think it makes this part a lot easier. If you needed more time, you could have just left the screen and came back in, and the grinder would have restarted at the top. But we didn't need to do that. Alright, now let's really get into Necrom. This is the real Necrom. What we came out of Necrom Mines was actually a temple. This Necrom is the outside area. It used to be an oasis in the middle of the desert. It used to be very colorful, very healthy, but thanks to excessive mining, the area has dried out. The jungle is dead. It's a very brown and dead area. We are still in the tutorial zone, more or less. This is kind of like the Mosaic Lines. We're going to learn a lot about Abe's abilities, and the abilities that will benefit the native population of Oddworld, like his quest, essentially. So just like, you know, in the Mosaic Lines and Odyssey, we learn about bird portals and secret areas and such. We also learn a little bit about backstory. We did touch upon it a bit in the opening cutscene of the game, but here these 4 signs we have to read to progress through the game let us know what anything is about. So here's a little bit of information about Necrom and about rescuing spirits, which is something that hasn't been really mentioned yet, and it's kind of a strange thing, but in the background, you can actually see one of the future areas, either the Mudamo Vault or the Mudanji Vaults. I'm not sure which one yet, but those like huge buildings in the background, that we're going to be there in the next couple of videos. So yeah, there's also, besides spirits, actual Mudokons we have to save. And I really like this tree in the center. It's a cool little centerpiece. There's no real explanation for what it is. I suppose it's up for your interpretation. There's the other vault, while we were jumping among those wells. You see the Mudamo or the Mudanji vaults. Apparently, spirits have been trapped, which I don't know how that works, but it's something that the industrialists have done, so clearly they have a lot of power over Mudokons, both dead and alive. Something I didn't know until recently was apparently the Mudokons and the Gluckons were tight before the events of the Oddworld games. And here's the Scrabs and Paramites. We've seen them before, we're going to see them again. And then the Mudokons were betrayed by the Gluckons, who started abusing the Mudokons' rights and defiling all their sacred areas. So I think that's an interesting thing. The game does make note of this, but it's such a passing thing that I've never noticed it before. There we go. We unlocked the door to a tomb. Here it is. This is a cool little area. A lot of these very tall mummified Mudokons. The sense of scale here is kind of weird. Now, we have not forgotten about our sick friends. They were lucky enough to have survived the explosion of the Necromines, but they're still very sick, and we still need them to get better if we want to end up progressing the story. Necromines itself is pretty blasted. There's no way to get through it. And just repeating what we said, those three ghosts from the opening cutscene, they actually represent wildlife. One of them has a paramite headgear, one of them has a scrab headgear, but the third one has a headgear for a creature we have not seen yet, but we will see them in this video, and for many future videos to come. I think we're about to see them right now. After this door. A lot of quiet moments. I think you can hear them sleeping a little bit. Here they are, the Fleeches, and as an extension, the Slurgs. Fleeches are usually asleep, but when you crush a Slurg, they wake up. And Fleeches are extremely vicious animals, probably the most vicious animals in any Oddworld game. Here's some background story on them. Fleeches used to be Gluckin pets because they're very cute when they're tiny. There's actually some concept art of when they're tiny, and it's not that cute, but whatever. But once they get too big, you gotta flush them down. It's a rite of passage to be an adult in Gluckinhood. And once they get too big, they get very hungry for meat. And their tongues, their main use of transportation, are also their primary weapons. And here is the Spirit Locks. We get to see what it means to save spirits in the Oddworld universe. The Gluckins don't want us to do this. To break these Spirit Locks would be a violation of their property, but we don't care about that. Abe is here to break the rules. And in order to break the locks open, you gotta slap them. And that unlocks the doors for us. It'll unlock a lot of doors for us. Okay, this next couple of areas, these next, 4 screens will be kind of a way for you to learn how to get around Fleeches. There's a lot of Slurgs, and killing any one of them will wake a guy up. You can still sneak by, and if you're patient enough, for most Fleeches, you can pass by them. If you noticed, that Fleech got a couple of hits on us. Fleeches, I think, are the only things in Abe's Exoddus that don't immediately kill Abe. They stab at you a couple times with their tongue, but after they stab you enough times, eventually Abe becomes weak enough that they can swallow Abe whole. It's actually a pretty gross death animation, and we're bound to see it at least once before this Let's Play is over, so look forward to that. Gotta make sure. Slurgs are extremely sensitive, and even, like, going up a ledge will end up killing them. And for some reason, pulling a lever also wakes up Fleeches. I don't know why that happens, but it does. I like the big towers in the background. Mayan architecture and some Egyptian architecture was a big influence for the structures in Necrom, so it's kind of cool to see that sort of influence going on. In this room you want to pull these pulleys first, because that doesn't wake up the Fleeches, unlike the levers. So, just make your life easier that way. One tactic with Fleeches that's really easy is if you just wait on a ledge and wait for them to come up, you drop off that ledge while they're moving up, and that saves you a bit of time, before they start spearing you a bunch. Let's see what's going on here. That's right. So invisibility is also a new mechanic in this game. Certain spirit locks will give you powers of invisibility. Not all of them, but most of them. And we're gonna see that in Spirit Lock. I don't know why I touched this, because it's literally the exact same. It's the exact same message, I guess, in case if you missed the one on top. But any Spirit Lock, any Spirit Lock you see that blinks green like this, that means it will grant you the powers of invisibility. And basically, being invisible, you become invisible as soon as you chant. And each lock has its own, like, range of invisibility. Sometimes you'll be invisible for a minute, sometimes you'll only be invisible for a couple of seconds. Usually it's appropriate for what situation you have to go past. So for example, here you have to go through a lot of leeches, so you'll be invisible for a decent amount of time. It's pretty lenient in this room. Spirit Locks in general, they act a lot like the Flint Locks in the past game, both because they are what progress the areas in the game, and they're kind of an in-game, in-story like way of Abe reuniting the Mudokons to their former glory or their former freedom. Let's see. Once Abe starts blinking, that means he becomes visible again, and that's you want Abe to start blinking when he's out of trouble. If he starts blinking while in the middle of an area, that's no good. One fun thing to mention is that there's actually a scrapped enemy concept in Necrom, being the Mudambis, the Mudokon zombies. These just never made it in the full game, but they were supposed to be in Necrom. If you read the thread for this LP, I will post a concept art for him. It was a cool idea, but it just never panned out. And now, just like the Mosaic Lines, we get to choose where we want to go. The Mudanchi Vaults, which is where the Scrabs are. Or the Mudamo Vaults, where the Paramites are. I'm gonna do Mudanchi then Mudamo, just because that's how I've done it the entire time I've played this game, and it just feels like the right way to go. Both areas are equally difficult, I think, so there's not really a wrong way to do this. Before we go in, though, and end this video, we have one more secret area to go through. And I don't do very good in this, which might explain why there's still 4 minutes left in this video, more or less. This is also a pretty tough secret area. It's also in a place that we haven't seen yet, which is new. In Abe's Odyssey, all secret areas were in Ruptured Farms, and we all know what Ruptured Farms is like. But this place, we're not going to see this particular area for a while, which is neat. Anyway, I had no idea what to do. I completely forgot, so I died like an idiot. This is why you should do test recordings before, or test runs before recording an actual video. Because some secret areas you just can't, I can't imagine most people making through most of the secret areas in this game the first time through. They're all super difficult at this point, and you need to know what you're going up against if you want to get through them the first time. So this, for example, you have to be seen by the Sligs at a certain point. There's no way you can get through without being seen by them. And you kind of have to accept that. I almost forgot. We are also introduced to the Greeter in this secret area. We're not going to see Greeters for a very long time, and this is kind of a good introduction to them in the secret area. They're basically moving motion sensors, and when you move, when they sense you, they start chasing you, and once they bump into you, they'll zap you to death. So that's kind of the deal with them. Of course, like I said, we don't see them for a very long time, so you're probably going to forget about them the next time we see them, and I'll have to reintroduce them. Please understand. I made this way harder for myself because these UXB mines are not synced, and it was tricky to get the timing down for them. I'm also in a very bad spot here. This is kind of what took this secret area so long, because I can't jump back up here, even though I feel like I should just make them. I wish those Mudokons weren't depressed, because then I could just make them pull the lever, and everything would be easier. But no, I gotta do this over again, so let's just speed through this opening part so we don't have to wait through it. Okay, good. Okay. This rest part will be easier. Something I forgot to mention. Let's actually kill this greeter first. I waited for this guy to actually run into the mine himself, but he doesn't want to do it. So you actually have to lead him into it, which is kind of annoying because from where I am, that motion sensor bar does not touch you often. So there's not a lot of movement. And I don't want to test my luck by being right next to him when I move. Luckily, I eventually blow him up, and everything's easy from this point on. Don't slap depressed Mudokons, because they will try to kill themselves if you do that. I did not mention this in the beginning video, but yeah, if you slap depressed Mudokons, they're not going to take to that any kindly at all, and it could it could make things go wrong very fast for you. Anyway, now that we've saved these two guys, that's all the Mudokons to save for now, and that'll be it for Necrom, the Necrom Oasis of Oddworld Abe's Exoddus. Next time we'll be going through the Mudanchi Vaults, we'll be seeing Scrabs, and it'll be good. I like the Mudanchi Vaults a lot. I like that area of the game. So I'm Met, and I'll see you next time.